Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Universal Journeys Radio with your hosts, Dr. Brenda L. Bates and Donny Winter. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. Universal Journeys Radio is about how spirituality intersects with nearly every other aspect of our lives, even when we do not see it or realize it. Creativity and expression are our connections to the spiritual energy many seek to understand, and our identity is forged through this process. Universal Journey seeks to help illuminate the different intersections between creativity, spirituality, and identity in order to empower and enlighten. Tonight, our topic is reviving your spirit through music, and our guest who will be calling on in a few minutes is Tiffany Gray, who is a musical artist and YouTuber. We also will be having musical performances during our breaks by Tiffany Gray and Bivani, who is also a musician on YouTube. She is a flute performer and composer. If you would like to call in, I nearly forgot the call in part. If you would like to call in, our number is 347-850-8292. Feel free to call in and share your musical experiences if you're a musician, or if you are inspired by music, what type of music, things like that. So, yes, feel free to call in. Anyway, hello, Brenda, dear.
Hello, Donny. How are you?
I am peachy with a side of keen. How are you?
That's good stuff.
Are you having a good evening?
I am. You know, when we're going to be talking about music and how it actually helps us in the spiritual realm, but also in the physical realm, and throughout our whole life. And this song, the last song that we just played, does that for me. That's one of many, but I don't know if you heard me trying to sing in the background, but I was.
I did, and I love hearing. I love hearing you sing to that song, and I think that's a lot of the reason why we switched our theme song to that song, because we resonate with it, and it's uplifting, and it has a very good rhythm to it. And what we'll be discussing later also is how important rhythm is in our lives. But overall, I guess I've never realized this until recently, just how important music is to our show, because it is a form of creative expression. And one thing that I like to do is reach out to different musicians who, aren't mainstream musicians and, perform, debut or have some of their tracks be aired on our show during our breaks. Because there are so many talented artists out there who deserve to be heard. And, everyone connects to music in a different way. And it's interesting seeing how people connect to music as an art form in those different ways. So, Brenda, let's have a music discussion real quick. Well, obviously the whole show is going to be a music discussion, but... my question for you is, it looks like Brenda got kicked off accidentally. Well, it looks like I will be talking for a few minutes anyway. Let me tell you a bit about Tiffany Gray and Bivani before we get into the, meat of our show. Tiffany Gray has been a longtime friend. She is an autism awareness activist. Actually, not autism awareness. I like to try to, and everyone likes to try to promote autism acceptance. She is an autism acceptance activist. She is also a singer, and she has been posting videos on YouTube for quite some time, sharing her story and her experiences. And overall, it's a very wonderful thing that she does. She reaches out and touches so many people with her abilities. And again, tonight I just wanted to bring her onto the show and, share some of her experiences with us when it comes to music. Brenda, are you back?
I am back. Interesting. And I was disconnected.
Yeah, your audio is kind of fading in and out in there.
Down. So
I can kind of hear you. Well, I was just going through and explaining our guests real quick, and I was moving onward to Bhavani next. Bhavani is a person that I have recently come to find on YouTube because she does a lot of covers of Lindsey Sterling's music, and she plays the flute, and she's a flute instructor. She composes her own music, and she recently released one of her albums titled, I believe it's Sacred Sounds, and I bought it because I love meditation music, and it's absolutely beautiful. And part of the CD is her performing her music and doing a guided meditation over her music, and it's very soothing and it's absolutely beautiful. At some point we will be doing a show on guided meditation, so definitely stay tuned to that. But yes, Bhavani is totally awesome, and later on in the show we will share both of their YouTube channels so you can go and check out more of their music. Okay, Brenda, so it looks like Tiffany is calling in, so I am going to bring her on, okay?
Please do.
Hello, Tiffany. Welcome to Universal Journeys.
Hi, Donny. It's really good to be on again.
We are very excited to have you on because, well, this subject is definitely up your alley, right?
Yes.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Brenda.
So,
welcome back.
Tiffany. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Just thought maybe I had to get that in there before I was off again.
Well, we hope you don't get knocked off again. Technology is being a little glitchy tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tiffany, I think it's important to start out by explaining how you discovered your talent for music.
Well, I've always loved music since I was a baby, but I didn't realize how much I loved to sing until I was a teenager. I was 15 years old, and I was sitting in front of my computer singing along with a Christina Aguilera song, and I just belted it out, and that's when I realized I want to be a singer, and it took off from there.
So, in knowing that you were a singer, so Christina Aguilera was the first musician you really connected with then? Is that what you were saying?
Well, she it was just a song that I really liked to listen to and sing along with.
And which song was that?
Reflection.
Oh, I love that song. That is a very good song.
Yeah.
So, obviously you decided to continue pursuing music, and since then, you've taken your music onto YouTube and you started expressing your story through the music on YouTube. Did you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the songs I sing have special meaning for me. A lot of songs talk about my struggles that I have faced with Asperger's, and also being visually impaired and dealing with the bullying and bad relationships and ignorant people and all the hurt that I've been through. And singing about my struggles is very healing, not just for me, but I feel like it could be healing for other people when they hear my story and they know that about my struggles and how I came out on top, and maybe it could help other people that are going through similar things.
Mhm. Definitely. Is there any, well, I know we will be debuting your song, well, your cover of the Celtic Woman's version of You Raise Me Up Later, which is a very special song to you, and I wanted you to explain to us why that song has such significance.
Because every time I sing it, I think of people who have made a difference in my life, from friends and family to inspirations that I have yet to meet, or maybe I have met from, like musicians to other YouTubers, and how those people have raised me up to more than I can be.
Definitely. Now, were you first introduced to that song through Celtic Woman?
No, I was first introduced to the Josh Groban version.
Oh, yes. Yes, I love Josh Groban.
And that song almost made me cry the first time I heard it.
Oh, it kind of makes me tear up sometimes. And it is a very uplifting song. And that brings me to one of the first things that I'd like all three of us to discuss tonight. Do you think that all people at some point are inspired by music?
I'm not really sure. I think maybe one way or another, even if you're not a musician or you don't play any musical instruments, maybe you hear a song that touches your heart and makes you feel better if you're going through a tough time, or just maybe you're inspired to follow your dreams through that song, no matter what your dreams are, even if that dream is to be, a janitor and clean everything up for everyone else and make it a much cleaner environment for other people. That's still an important dream.
Exactly. Good point. Brenda, what do you think?
I think it inspires a lot of different people, although there are people who do not like music. And, I mean, I guess it inspires people differently in different ways. And I do believe there's people out there who may have never listened to music or have and been hurt by some of the things that are brought up through music, and they just don't want to listen to it. I know there for a while that I did. I stopped listening to a lot of the music for many years because it brought up memories of a lost loved one, and I couldn't handle it then. I find myself now lately, I would say really lately, getting back into listening to music. I think I've healed enough to be able to do that. So you have on all different levels and things. So
right, exactly. Well, the reason why I brought up that question is, I'm going to be kind of dishing a little bit on my spiritual path. When I was a teenager and younger, I was Seventh-day Adventist, and my family still, for the most part, is, and I'm totally accepting of that. And well, the thing is, we went down to some sort of what was it? It was some sort of symposium, like a Seventh-day Adventist gathering at a university, and we could, choose, which, different conference or panel that we wanted to go to. And we went to this one that talked about rhythm and dance. And the most poignant thing I can remember coming out of that experience was drum beats are evil and they should not be played because they easily influence people negatively. So that kind of upset me because at that point in my life, music was very important to me. And they didn't even specify what type of music they were referring to. They were just saying music in general. Now, music in general, obviously, is a very all-encompassing, thought. So, and then it perplexed me because music was a very important part of their services and their ceremonies. And I was just like, how can music be evil or negative when they use it themselves and when we all, like many people use it? So I guess my question for you both is, have you ever encountered other people who have thought this?
Yes, especially traditional religions. And there are some who don't do or don't like music. I know the Baptists don't advocate going out and dancing or anything like that. I can't say they stop you from singing because they sing in church. Mm-hmm. However, the drum beat, as you mentioned earlier, I can sort of kind of understand where they're coming from, but in a different perspective. Because the drum is the beat of the human heart. And it touches you very deep when it's done the right way. Native Americans use drumming all the time. Mm-hmm. And it is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And if you get into a rhythm with the heartbeat of Mother Earth and you continue to rise with the energy and everything else, you will become more connected to the divine source. Now, that's what they may be afraid of, because if you do so with the drum and you all of a sudden are taken away from their congregation or their way of thinking, then to them that would be evil.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well, and I remember, I mean, this didn't happen to me, but I remember at one point hearing about kids who were, punished for listening to modern music. This was back in the 90s, so like mm-hmm. Euro dance and, pop were like the modern version of pop was starting to get popular, and I remember hearing of people just getting in trouble for even listening to that stuff to the point where, they were grounded or they were forbidden from seeing certain people. And I guess that just surprised me, and I never realized it until recently looking back on it. There's an interesting point, Brenda, that you brought up, that they fear that ascension, because I do feel like music allows us to rise to a different level. It allows us to transcend various limitations within our bodies.
Right. Well, the other thing you have to remember, Donny, is the people who are probably at these particular events are older, much older than you are, and when they may have been growing up, like when I grew up, you also had where it stated that the devil, is being played. If you reverse the music in the LPs, we don't have LPs anymore, but the LPs, if you make it go backwards, there's a message from the devil or people with satanic stuff. So that's one of the things that came out in my era, and maybe it just came over into your era as in, beware of that, don't do this, this is what happens. And really, I don't know of anybody who actually got hurt or became hurt by playing a record backwards, okay? I mean, you had some pretty wild and crazy music going on there for a little while. I mean, even Korn was not a fan of, I'm not a fan of them, but even their music was pretty out there and wild. So I can see some of it. I mean, even rap at one time was considered bad and evil because of all the cursing and everything else and the bashing of police officers and so on and so forth.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I can totally see that. And I can tell that once I know people who at one point in time they were, very against more modern types of music, and after they started listening to it, then they, started becoming more comfortable too. And I think all it definitely involves that almost stigmatized fear of, hearing what they heard at one point in time and then being like, oh, this music isn't evil after all. So maybe it's just like an experience that just people have to work themselves through. Because I remember when I was a kid, I was afraid to listen to modern music too because of all that I heard from other people, and I was like, oh my God, I don't, want to go to hell or anything for listening to music. My goodness.
Right. Well, I think every generation goes through something like this, because I remember growing up, and this was back in the latter 60s, early 70s, and so on and so forth, is my parents didn't like the music I was listening to. I mean, I was listening to Donna Summer, ELO, Aerosmith, and stuff like that. They didn't like that because of how wild and crazy the music really was. And there were there was other bands that I listened to too, but they didn't like that because it was something different to them. And I think you're going to get that with every generation.
Mm-hmm. Tiffany, have you ever experienced anybody discouraging you from listening to certain types of music?
Not that I can remember. I do know that I have encountered some kids who said, "Oh, my mom doesn't let me listen to rap," or I have talked. I actually went to school with someone who didn't really like to listen to music, but that's because he had a hearing problem. Mm-hmm. But I personally have never experienced anything like that. Luckily, I've just always loved music, and it's always been a huge part of my family.
Good. Well, yeah, that's good. It sounds like that your family, openly cultivated your passion for music, which explains why you have the passion that you have for it right now.
Yeah. My granddad is definitely one of those people that he'll listen to modern music and he'll find something good about it. If he likes it, he likes it. You know, it doesn't really matter when it was or what kind of music it is usually. If he likes something, then he's very open-minded when it comes to music. I mean, he doesn't like rap and he doesn't like heavy metal, but he likes a lot of the modern pop stuff that come out.
And again, I think that all comes down to preference too. Because I mean, I don't really like heavy metal or rap. I mean, there's some very few rap songs that I can deal with. But I understand that, what may be something that's not healing for me may be healing for someone else. Especially, let's discuss rap for a second. Rap, many people, I would used to consider it, nothing but senseless gobbledygook. But I do recognize that there is a lot of poetic quality to rap music, and certain rappers definitely put in a huge effort when it comes to, developing the rhyme and developing the rhythm. And ultimately, some people would argue that through rap music, the message is easier to understand, because when we listen to other music that's inundated with, instruments and all of that jazz, it's easy sometimes to get lost in the sound as opposed to, the words, what, they're actually trying to say. But I don't think that about not regular music. I don't think that about, pop music or anything like that, because whenever I listen to music, I understand that there are different layers. And every time I listen to a song, I will understand a different layer. Like maybe the first time that I listen to a song, I'll be like, oh, well, I never heard that flute before. That's, really cool. And the second time I listen to the song, I'll be like, wow, that, statement in the song is very moving. And then the third time through, maybe, I'll listen to both of those together and completely discover something new. And I know, there are some songs that, really moved me 10 years ago. I go back and listen to and I discover something new about it, or I discover that it brings about a different level of the feeling that I had at that point in time. So I don't know if either of you have ever experienced that, but that's kind of one of my music nerdisms.
I think a lot of times... Go ahead. I'm sorry. I think a lot of times I hear a song, the first time, and I either connect with it or I just enjoy it. And I don't know if I experience it in layers. I feel like I just experience it for the first time, and then I connect with it because maybe the song has a message that I relate to, or it's just something that I get joy out of listening to.
And I was going to say that. Yep, I was going to say that music actually talks to me, and I don't know if that's natural for anybody or everybody, but I normally get messages from the higher realms with a certain music or a song that may come on randomly. And I mean by randomly is I turn it on and right at that right moment, and that song is right there when I'm thinking about someone. Like today, for some reason, I was in my car and I was listening to this one channel, and I went to turn it up, and it switched to a different channel. In the song that I used to sing going over to see Patrick, it's called "I Swear" by All for One, had just started playing. I'm like, thank you, Patrick. Thank you for letting me know.
I love that song.
Like, yep. And he was like, thank you for for switching there. And I mean, I just went to turn it up, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, it's right there. And after the song was over, I switched back to the channel that I was on. But things like that happen all the time to me. And music is very important. I don't know why I I do know why I stepped away, because it just talked too much to me. But I'm getting back into it.
Music reveals truths within ourselves that we may not yet be ready to know, And
sometimes.
like it doesn't. I mean, that doesn't happen to me often either. But there are situations where I have felt, discouraged by a particular song because it has, told me something, or it has unearthed something deep inside me. But I remember, I dated a guy once, years and years ago, who also loved Adam Lambert, and for the longest time after him and I broke up, I could not listen to Adam Lambert music. And then I realized years later, I was like, why the hell did I give up Adam Lambert music? But again, deep down, it kind of, dredged up those unresolved feelings that I didn't face at that time. And in a lot of ways, music helps us overcome them, but music can also remind us of those things too. So, are we ready to go on our first break?
We are indeed. Let's get her going.
Welcome back to Universal Journeys, everyone. Tiffany, that was so unbelievably beautiful.
Thank you.
If Celtic women heard that, they would be blown out of the water. I think we should totally start a petition for Tiffany to be the next Celtic woman. I don't know about you. But that was
wow.
amazing.
That was wow.
I love to hit that high note at the end.
Definitely. So, Tiffany, let me do the advertisements first, then I'll ask you that question. Okay. Just look at me getting all scatterbrained. Probably from too much coffee, who knows. Anyway, so for those of you who enjoy listening to our show, we have different social networking sites that you can find us on. If you go to Facebook and type in Universal Journeys, you should be able to find our Facebook page. We post a lot of uplifting messages. We post links to our shows. You'll likely be able to see our show ahead of time, what our topic will be if you go to Facebook. Also, if you go into the URL bar, if you type in facebook.com/universaljourneys111, that is another way to find us. Also, we're in the process of getting our shows uploaded to YouTube because some people feel using YouTube as a means of listening. So if you go to youtube.com and type in Universal Journeys, you should be able to find us there too. And last but certainly not least, if you would like to check out more of Tiffany's music, and you definitely should, go to youtube.com/Tiffany Gray Singer. And Gray is spelled Gray. She has a lot of amazing public performances and music videos. Definitely check it out and subscribe to her channel. Anyway, back to everything here. Did you want to add anything, Tiffany, about your YouTube channel?
Well, I just really appreciate you promoting my channel because my music is just so important to me, and I want to get it out there. I want more people to hear me. I want more people to hear my covers, and if I do originals in the future, because every time someone tells me that I have inspired them or I have brought joy into their life or touched their heart or just put a smile on my face, I feel like I'm doing my job right.
Mm-hmm.
And it would mean so much to me if I could do that for more and more people.
Well, perhaps this is another step to that too. And I think it's important. I mean, being on YouTube is not an easy thing because, smaller channels like ours are easily overrun by really large, popular YouTubers. And I think there's a lot on YouTube, a lot of genuinely good musicians and vloggers that go overlooked. So, and I think one of the things that we try to do here is to help give a voice to those who aren't heard frequently, and you are definitely one. You're definitely one of those voices, Tiffany. So, and I can speak from personal experience that you have definitely inspired me with your videos. I love watching them, and in a lot of ways, it helps cultivate my latent musical ability that I overlook far too often. So thank you for that, my dear.
No problem. And I think if my YouTube channel explodes somewhere down the line and gets bigger, I want to help other people who are in my position right now who are struggling to get their name out there.
And that is a very noble cause.
Absolutely, and we want to be able to help you do that too, because this is what we're all about. We're all about helping people. We're all about inspiring people and lifting them up. And you are definitely one of those younger ladies that not only can we help, but you also help us. I mean, such a beautiful song that you just sang. And, I mean, you hit that note at the end. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So please, you have our support, and please continue to do what it is that you do so well.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. And I had a question before I went and started doing the advertisements, but it totally blanked out of my mind.
That happens to me all the time.
Well, okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about music in general being a healing art form. And I know people who are insistent in saying, music is not healing, music is just music, it's just entertainment. And I could not disagree more with that. In fact, I was doing some research on some psychological websites, and I found a site called apa.org, and there is this article by Amy Novotny, and she quotes a Dr. Levitin who says that we found compelling evidence that musical interventions can play a healthcare role in setting ranging from operating rooms to family clinics. And I was reading this very interesting article about how listening to music helps the recovery process quicken, and it makes it a lot easier. And the thing is, music gives people a sense of relaxation. If it's music that they're used to listening to, that gives them, a sense of familiarity that's very important because, I don't know about you guys, but going to the hospital and having to go through a procedure is a very jarring experience psychologically, emotionally, and all of that jazz. And being able to have that kind of familiarity definitely takes down that stress level. I cannot even stress that enough.
Yes, and I actually read a comment on one of the Celtic Woman fan pages a few years ago that said that there's a hospital, and I don't know which hospital it is, but they play a bunch of Celtic Woman music for their comatose patients.
Really?
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And I'm definitely sure, Celtic Woman is one of those musical groups who like appeals to not only people who like modern music, but people who like older style music as well. And I remember that was one of the first musical groups when I was in high school that definitely helped me through all of the really negative experiences that I went through. And I can honestly say that if it wasn't for some music, I probably wouldn't be alive today.
I have to agree. Same,
go ahead, Tiffany.
Same for me. Same for me. Celtic Woman has definitely gotten me through a lot of tough times. And I feel like because of Celtic Woman, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have met you. And you are like, well, I know, and if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't be here. So if it wasn't for Celtic Woman, I wouldn't be here. And now because of Celtic Woman, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, hon.
If it wasn't for Celtic Woman, I wouldn't have discovered all these other amazing Irish musical groups that have definitely made positive impacts on my life, like Celtic Thunder and Key West.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, you know, this, and by the way, thank you for what you said. That was such a sweet thing to say. Thank you. And this just is further proof that music brings people together. And and I was also reading another article where it was discussing the fact that music is a connecting experience. And people who rise to that spiritual, that higher energy level with music can connect with one another in that plane. And I think that's what we see that happens at a lot of concerts. And, well, you both know how unbelievably obsessed I am with Lady Gaga, right? Well, I used to not be a fan of hers because she was super popular, and I was like, oh, I don't want to be a fan of people who are that mainstream. And finally, I decided to, you know, not be an asshat about it, and I started listening to her music and watching her live performances, and the dedication and the passion that I see in her fans sharing in that musical experience was amazing. Like there have been instances where I have cried over, you know, fan reactions to being, you know, at that place and experiencing that moment in time musically. It's a really, really powerful experience.
You know what I love about Lady Gaga is that she cares about her fans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of musicians that I gravitate towards more. I remember this video that she posted a few months ago for one of her fans who was struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. And she sent a very uplifting message to him, and that just really touched me. And musicians that care about their fans and that make them feel loved and make them feel like they're not just fans but they're family, that makes their music even more healing. And that's what I love about these groups that I listen to, because they care about their fans. Every time I have talked to them, they have made me feel special, they've made me feel loved, and they made me feel like I'm not the small person talking to these hugely popular people who are on pedestals. I'm talking to other human beings who care. And that feels so good.
Exactly. And I think that's a great sign of a powerful person who uses music as a vehicle for healing, because music is about the experience. It isn't about the celebrity status. It isn't about the money. Some people do make it about the money, though, and some people do make it about the fame. But above all else, it's that connection that the music creates between the musician and the listener. And interesting segue, but I was kind of thinking back on the first types of music I would listen to when I was in high school, and I realized that the first type of music that I listened to was very, very non-traditional. I actually listened to a lot of music, and and I'm sure both of you know my obsession with Godzilla and Mothra and stuff. I would listen to those soundtracks constantly. And those soundtracks helped bring me to a different level of awareness, and it helped drag me away from some of those really dark places that I experienced. Like, I don't know if either of you have ever experienced this with music. And keep in mind, this was mostly just instrumental music, too. There were no words to it. I mean, for me, sometimes music doesn't necessarily have to have words to, make a point to me. And I think it's very neat when it comes to the instrumental music, because in a way I almost derive my own meanings when there's words absent. But I don't know, have either of you experienced that?
Absolutely.
I feel like sometimes when I listen to an instrumental piece, I can hear words in my mind.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Brenda?
Totally. Yeah, I don't necessarily have to have words with the music. And like Tiffany, that still speaks to me. Meditation, when you listen to music and you can meditate to it, that helps you to raise up. While you guys were talking, I was thinking about Celtic music, as we were talking about the Celtic, women. But Celtic music, when you have that flute play a certain pitch in a certain way, then that gets to me. Celine Dion used that particular type of music with My Heart Will Go On, or whatever the song name is. And that,
I love that.
I love that one too. And that music spoke to me. You don't have to have words. It still spoke to me. It's almost as if my life, I had a lifetime within that lifetime there around that music. Native American drums and flute do the same thing to me. The violin speaks to me. There's a piano speaks to me. So there's a lot of different things out there you don't necessarily have to have words to, and they will still speak to you because they resonate with your soul.
Yeah,
and that's why it speaks to you.
And some of the Celtic woman songs are instrumental with just the violinist Mairead playing the violin, and her violin definitely speaks to me a lot. I feel very energized with a lot of her songs, and sometimes her other slower songs make me feel very relaxed.
And I one thing I also love about Celtic Woman is, you know how big of a fan I am of Orla Fallon, who plays the harp while she sings. Like, the combination of her voice and the harp and the orchestra creates this very amazingly, mysteriously beautiful, how many adverbs can I use? Mysteriously beautiful, music that just really drives the point home almost, and I still love listening to it to this day. And Brenda, also, My Heart Will Go On, like the combination of that flute and Celine Dion's voice, it really it's a raw feeling, a very raw feeling. And that's why I keep, hoping beyond all hope that Lady Gaga, for example, releases an acoustic album where it's nothing but her performing her songs with the piano, because I tell you what, when that woman is just singing with the piano, I bawl. Like, holy hell, I bawl everywhere, basically.
Yeah, there's something very...
That one clip.
What was that, Brenda, dear?
Since she did a wonderful job with that one clip that you shared with me of her playing the piano and singing. That was phenomenal.
Oh, that cover of Imagine, yes. I still cry when I listen to that.
Beautiful. And there's just and sorry for interrupting you earlier, but there's just something so magical for me about acoustic music, because I feel like if it's just me and the piano, or me and a guitar, or even me and a harp, I feel like I can be even more personal because it's very, it just feels like a very intimate thing for me, and I feel like I can, because people can pay more attention to what I'm saying in the song, they can pay more attention to my voice.
Yeah, that's like the piano accents the person performing, but you can still like hear and comprehend the piano at the same time.
Yes.
Certainly.
But then when I sing, big orchestrated songs or songs with a band, I feel bigger. I feel like I don't know how to explain it. It feels good, and I feel sort of powerful, but in a good way.
Because you were expanding your energy out, and it's more expansive and stuff like that. But you're expanding your energy out to receive the love and the energies that you are exuding.
Yes,
definitely. And even listening to the music can help you, project that inward energy outward. And I mean, regardless what emotion it is. And the most recent situation where I had, when I was a teenager, I would listen to music and I would just cry. That would be my way of, releasing that catharsis, And when I watched the third Hobbit movie, the song that played during the end credits is a song that was performed by one of the actors from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it is like this amazingly beautiful song about going on a journey and just, how one thing ends and another thing begins. And I remember crying. I was walking in the woods one day listening to it, and I just cried. I was like, look how far I've come and all the things that I've gone through, and I got through it okay. And that's what that song told me. And, I mean, when listening to the lyrics, I guess a person wouldn't normally think that they would have that reaction, but that is the reaction I had. And whenever I listen to it to this day, I'm just blown away by how it makes me introspect and understand the changes that have occurred in my life. And I think that's another amazing aspect of music, is that, like I said earlier, it's able to dredge up those emotions that we've experienced and help us face them sometimes, usually I'd like to think, in a, positive way.
Well, just, you were talking about, the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. There's this one song, or the one scene, where one of the young hobbits was in the Hall of the King, and he started to tell the story or sing the song, and I'm telling you what, that song got to me. I don't recall what it was, but
Pippin's song.
Pippin, yes.
And that's the same guy that actually sings that song at the end of The Hobbit, too.
Wow, that's an amazing song.
And building on the discussion on Lord of the Rings, that is another set of soundtracks that got me through high school, because every single song just made me soar. Not sore as in painful sore, but soar as in I'm a bird soaring. And even today, I listen to songs Concerning Hobbits, which is that Shire song that's really happy and dancey. And I'm just I feel like a hobbit. I feel like I am out in nature, and I feel like my life is an adventure when I listen to it. And I'm just it's such a freeing sensation. And I could go on for 300 years about how amazing the Lord of the Rings soundtracks are.
It is a very, very good soundtrack. All of those are, and the music is amazing, and it's just very touching. If you really think about it and you really sit down and you listen, not just listen with your ears, but listen with your heart. They tell the story. They tell the story of the old and all the struggles and everything else that you go through and things like that. So it's amazing.
Definitely. I could not agree more with that.
With that note,
well,
I think it's about time, huh?
Yes, it is. We are coming up on our second break. Let me explain to you a little bit of Bhavani again, for those of you who may not have been listening at the beginning of the show. Bhavani is a flute player that I was recently introduced to on YouTube, and I remember how I was introduced to her. She did a cover of that beautiful song from The Lord of the Rings, that da-da-da-da, that song, and I bawled. Like, I was crying my eyes out listening to it. And since then, I've been very addicted to her music, and she released an album of meditation music called Sacred Sounds, and she performs this music with multiple different flutes, like the native flute and, the traditional flute. And I just wanted, I reached out to her and I asked her if we could have some of her music on the show, and she was all like, yeah, let's totally do that. So I felt like introducing you guys to her music. And welcome back to Universal Journeys, everyone. Follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. And if you're just tuning in, our topic for this evening is reviving your spirits through music. And we have, of course, my other host, along with me, Dr. Brenda Bates, and we have guest Tiffany Gray, who is also a musician, discussing these different topics related to music with us. Before we get on to this next segment of the show, I wanted to do a couple of advertisements. First and foremost, that song that you just listened to is called Hope Springs by Bhavani, and you can find more of her music on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Bhavani Flute, BEVANI FLUTE, you will find her music. She does covers of popular songs. She has also done original songs. Also, if you go onto iTunes, you can buy her album Sacred Sounds and the song Hope Springs. Definitely go check. What did you guys think of that song?
Awesome.
Almost made me cry.
I know, it's so, when I first listened to it, I was like, I have to write a poem. And very rarely do I have music inspire that level of creativity where I need to absolutely write, just drop everything that I'm doing and write. So, Bhavani, if you're listening to this, thank you so much for that. You were amazing, and I'm so happy that I was introduced to your music. So, anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about. And recent blah 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 blah. Okay, let me get my tongue situated. So we were discussing the spiritual aspects of music and how music has inspired us. And recently, Tiffany, I know that you traveled to Ireland and you were introduced to a new musical group. So did you want to tell us about your journey to Ireland and explain to us how you were introduced to this group and how you continue to listen to them?
Yes, last October, my granddad took me to Ireland because, first of all, because of Celtic Woman, I have gotten into Irish music and Celtic music and Irish culture in general, and I wanted to go to Ireland so badly, and he knew how much I wanted to go. So he finally booked a trip. He and my grandmother booked the trip for me, and he took me, and it was the best experience of my life. It was amazing. And the first day we arrived in Ireland, we stopped at Burger King on Grafton Street, which Grafton Street is the heart of Dublin in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped at Burger King because we were both hungry and we wanted something to eat. And we heard singing outside. And I'm like, is there an angel singing out there? because even from inside the restaurant, I could tell this person had an amazing voice. So after we finished eating, we hurried outside to see who it was, and it was a band. And one of the songs they sang almost made me cry. And I didn't get to find out who that band was, and I didn't get to meet them that day because they packed up and left. But a few days later, they were on Grafton Street again performing, and I found out the name of that band is called Key West. It's one word, Key West. And they sang that song again, and the song is called On This Train. And this time, I just lost it. I was bawling. That song touched me. And it wasn't just the words that touched me, but it was the lead singer, his voice that touched me, and the band playing the music. It touched me. But mostly it was the lead singer, Andrew Kavanaugh. His voice really tugged at my heartstrings, and I got to finally meet the band and tell them how amazing they were. And I was still crying my eyes out when I was talking to Andrew, and I told him that his singing made me cry. And he was like, "Be careful, I'm a sympathetic crier."
Oh.
It was sweet but funny at the same time, and to this day I still listen to their music. I'm still a huge follower. In fact, they're on my top 3 favorite bands: Celtic Woman, Celtic Thunder, and Key West, and not in any specific order. And what I really love about these guys is that they also care about their fans, because every time I comment on one of their posts, they almost always reply, and they have given me positive feedback on some of my videos. And I did a cover of one of their songs a couple of months ago with my vocal coach, Tim Martin, and I shared the song with Key West, and they said that I have a fab voice, and they also said that they were honored that I covered one of their songs. And this particular song definitely has some special meaning for me. When I hear this song, it's called The Message. And when I hear this song, I feel very uplifted. I feel like it's almost like Andrew is singing it to me. He's telling me, I am the star. I should not let people bring me down, and I should just pour out my heart and just be who I am, and that there's someone out there there's going to be someone out there that's going to say these things to me somewhere in the future. That song just gives me hope. In fact, a lot of their songs give me hope.
Yeah, I can honestly attest to this. I have also listened to Key West's music, and they are absolutely amazing. Very, very personal, yet fun to listen to at the same time.
Yes.
Go ahead, hon.
Okay, sorry. Another thing I like is a lot of times when they're about to play a song, when they're on the streets busking in Dublin, when they're introducing a song, Andrew always, he almost always has a story behind a song that he's about to sing, that, especially the original songs. He has a story behind them, and he shares his story, and that's what I do. I love it. He and I have both been through heartbreak and both been hurt so badly in the past, and we both struggle with love. When he shares his story, I'm like, yes, I know exactly what he means by this. And I love that he shares his story about his struggles, because it makes him more personable. It means it's like he's connecting with his audience, and that's what I want to do. And especially people who know exactly what he's going through or have been through similar things like I have. Because it's really hard for me to find love, because it's hard for me, it's hard for people to accept me, because I'm, different, and I come with baggage. and to know that there are people out there that struggle with the same thing. It makes me feel like, it gives me hope, and it makes me feel like I'm not alone.
Yes, definitely. And that's another really powerful thing about music, is because it helps people connect to one another on an emotional level. It helps us connect to the exact same things that they may be feeling. For those of you who are interested in checking Key West out, if you go to youtube.com /Key West Official, that's all one word, you'll be able to find their YouTube channel, and they have a lot of amazing songs and amazing videos. They are an emerging band, and they don't have much of an American presence yet, but I know Tiffany and myself were really trying to promote them because, I mean, they're awesome. They're totally awesome.
They really are. And I love that their songs always have a story behind them. That's, like, even when I'm singing covers, my songs always have some kind of story behind it. Even if I'm just singing a song because it brings joy, it's still a story.
And I think that's extremely important. And that's one thing that I try to, stress on my own YouTube channel, is like the importance of storytelling. Because storytelling helps us express. It helps us connect to other people who have gone through similar experiences. I mean, even if people haven't gone through similar experiences, it helps people place themselves in each other's shoes. And music definitely does that. Music is a vehicle for emotional experience, and I cannot get enough of it. It is simply wonderful. So let's switch gears real quick, and let's talk about meditation. Tiffany, do you meditate by any chance?
No, not really.
Okay, not everyone does, and that's totally okay. But I wanted to briefly discuss the importance of meditation and music. I know we've done a show before about meditation, but this all comes back down to allowing us to rise to that, higher level of energy that, that music does for us. And I know that music often places me in a meditative state. And especially when my immediate go-to meditation music is always some sort of Japanese meditation music or piano or flute meditation music. And Brenda, I know you have done some meditation with music. Did you want to explain to us your experience with that?
Well, yes. And I have gone through several different types of music. I have gone through like angel meditation music, which, and it sounds, I can't even explain what it's like or how it feels, but it definitely raises the energy. And I've done Celtic music, which just brings you back into a memory of something long ago. I've done Native American drums, Native American flutes. And it's different. It's all the different type of pieces of music to help you to get to a certain level, perspective. If indeed you want to go in a certain direction, it'll help you guide in a certain direction. Now, there are times lately, I'm not going to say lately, the last several times that I've meditated, there was nothing, just a candle. And sometimes that's even good for you to do too. But music, it gives the left side of the brain something to focus on, so the right side of the brain can actually do what it needs to be done, like clearing and letting go and listening and so on and so forth. So music really is good for a lot of different things, and if not anything else, it helps the left brain be occupied so that you can receive the inspiration that you so look for.
Exactly.
So.
And I can completely connect with that. I guess the one thing that I have learned over the past few years is I've started adjusting my definition of meditation. For me, meditation is also the creative process. When I reach that state, I am at a creative state, and it is almost meditative for me because not only does it relax me and not only does it allow me to allow my brain to, function the way it should, but it allows me to logically clear those things out while expressing something at the same time. And the immediate music that I can think of when referencing this is Mary Lambert's music. I don't know, Brenda, if you're familiar with Mary Lambert, but I know Tiffany maybe. Are you Tiffany?
Yes, I love her.
Okay, Brenda, have you heard of Mary Lambert?
Probably not.
Okay, I will totally have to introduce you to her because she's absolutely wonderful. But I don't have that much of her music. I have several songs of hers, but her songs are always my immediate go-to when I feel creative because it helps stimulate that muse. It helps me rise to that creative state that I need to be to write poetry, for example. And ironically, Mary Lambert is also a poet, and she has done instrumental music backing her reciting some of her poetry. Like the poem that immediately comes to mind is Body Love, which is an amazing poem about women accepting their bodies and not giving in to the body shaming that our society continues to perpetuate. And, I listen to that and I cry every single time, and I immediately want to write poetry because it places me in that mindset. And this really led me to realize that different types of music have different creative or meditative purposes. If I'm talking my creative aspects, her music helps me write poetry. If I listen to soundtrack music like Lord of the Rings or Godzilla or Mothra or whatever, that makes me want to write stories. And when I listen to, there's even music that, helps me, clean and everything. And sometimes I believe that the music that helps you, clean and do all that stuff, that in itself, since it's an action, is, I guess you could argue, a meditative state. And Brenda, do you have any other types of music that stimulates other types of meditative states for you?
Well, oh gosh, I was just going to stand up here, but if I do, then that's my thing. Now, yes, and it's funny that you talk about different aspects of meditation. Now, one thing that you didn't talk about was getting in a meditative state through dancing.
Oh, yes.
Now, I know that a lot of African Americans or people from Africa, Native Americans as well, they use music and they dance. They dance and they take on that particular energy of who they're dancing for or emanating or whatever you want to call it with them. Now, me, when I hear certain music, my body starts moving and I want to dance, so I dance. Matter of fact, beforehand, excuse me for just a minute. Okay. Now, just before we came on air, I was listening to music, and I was dancing down here. I was like, you dance like no one's watching. Well, luckily there's someone watching down here. So dancing is a meditative state too. A meditation. So just like walking or anything like that, it's just if you feel good and you move and you just go with it, and it's like creativity. You go with it, you will be amazed at how you feel when you're done. Whether or not it's writing poetry, whether or not it's dancing, whether or not it's walking, as long as you're getting the air that's coming in your brain and in your body and having it reactionate, you are getting to a higher state of consciousness. So creativity and meditation go hand in hand, but not necessarily in the traditional way of meditation. You don't have to sit, in a lotus position and touch your fingers. And, I mean, that's good stuff. But there are other means and ways of meditating that help you to get out of your humdrum everyday life or your chaotic, hectic day life. So, dancing definitely is one for me with good music that touches me.
Yeah, come to think of it, the way you guys explain that, I think maybe I do meditate with music because I listen to music when I'm walking on the treadmill and working out, and I listen to music when I'm at my computer, trying to do something creative. I guess that is meditating. I guess it's just a different way of meditating. And when you were talking about dance, the Irish also do a lot of dancing through music.
Exactly.
Yes, they do.
Just about every culture does.
Yes.
Just about.
Really, I kind of have a confession. So, I never realized the importance of dance and music until I started thinking about my own habits when I'm listening to music. And when I'm by myself in my own apartment, I will listen to music and I will dance around, ridiculously. I even have instances where I get out, my hairbrush and I pretend I'm singing. And in a lot of ways, I think that action, along with listening to the music, helps elevate me to that level of, fearlessness. It makes me feel fearless when I do that. Stimulates deep down my desire to be a musician because music has always been a huge, huge part of my life. And after high school, I really put that on the back burner, especially since, I was pursuing English. And, I don't regret making that decision because, I'm doing what I want to do, but still music, I feel like that's something that I've neglected. And both of you know that I have been trying desperately to be more musical. And over the summer, I had a very interesting moment where, I've played the saxophone for 13, 14 years, and I've always enjoyed playing the saxophone. And I've played the piano for about 5 or 6 years, but I've not been super amazing at it. Well, this summer I did something that I never believed I would do, and I composed probably about a 50-second song on the piano completely by ear, and I don't know how it happened, but something snapped in me, in my mind, and I was like, this needs to happen right now. This needs to be created. This just needs to happen. And I remember getting a lot of feedback on the song, oh my God, this is beautiful, Donny. Wow, I didn't know that, you could play the piano and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I really didn't know that I could play to this extent either. So in all actuality, music helped me realize that I could break boundaries that I never thought I could break.
It was a beautiful piece, Donny. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I think you should put it on your YouTube channel.
I've actually definitely considered it. And I guess one thing that really made me sad when I came back down to Missouri is that I wasn't able to bring the piano with me because I had to make room for all of my plants. But my plants are my babies, so they had to come with me. But I know for sure when I go home for Christmas, I'm going to be as musical as possible.
You can't help it. It's going to be Christmas time. Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, Brenda, that was entertaining.
I love Christmas.
Oh, that was highly entertaining.
I love Christmas, and I love Christmas music.
Me too. Me too.
You know, the Christmas music actually takes me back to a time that I've never really known, but in this lifetime. But it takes me back to a time that where I was with a bunch of people, and you know, they were all families. Like I had this huge family, and it takes me back to a New England time. And this lifetime, I've never lived in New England, but it takes me back to that time, and it makes me wonder whether or not it was memories from someone else who I was connected to, or if it was something that from a past life that I remember. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but music can take you back to times when you don't even realize that you even had in a lifetime or two. So, I mean, your cells remember. Your cell memory remembers all of that stuff. Good times, bad times, and difference. Speaking of music can also bring up issues with us of painful situations. And with that, it's getting through it. It's taking time to get through, just like me getting away from the TV for a while, getting away from music for a while, because every time that I've listened, and I always listen to love songs, I'm just a sap at that, but every time I listened to love songs, it reminded me of Patrick, and it took me a long time to really get through that, and I do say a long time, I'd say a good 5 years, because Patrick's been gone since 2010, and this is 2015. So it's taken me a little bit to get back into listening to music, because I used to love it. Patrick used to love it. And so it touches my heart, and I have to work through it, and these are things that we all need to do. It's like, okay, some of the things that we were hurt by, we need to let it go. We need to let it go, because we can't stay stuck in an emotional state all the time. And we can say, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me through this. And thank you, for giving me the opportunity so I can have certain memories. Some negative memories, that's a different story. It's like, okay, thank you, goodbye, and get over it. And I'm going to say get over it, and that's not as easy as that those words are. But those are healing as well. And this particular show, I was really, really glad, Donny, that you suggested it, because it is about healing and love. Healing, love, overcoming. And this is a way that these singers have been able to help us to get through a lot of different things. And to realize and help us to realize that we are not alone in our struggles, that everyone goes through struggles. Now,
Definitely.
There are songs out there like, what the heck was that? But and there's other songs that just say the same thing over and over again, right, Donny? The one that you like and I don't like. I don't remember what that one was.
I'm going to swing on the chandelier.
Yeah, it's like, God, that's crazy. And it's not because I don't like the individual. It's just because it's repetitious and it's over and over, and it's like, really? That's not even a
And I have certain songs where I feel the exact same way about. So I definitely understand that. And I really like the fact that you brought up what you brought up, because that's, it's extremely important. And I think more people need to realize that, too. Definitely. Yep. Okay, so should we go on our final break for the evening?
Sure.
And welcome back to Universal Journeys Radio, everybody. For those of you who may just be tuning in, we are talking about reviving your spirit through music. So before we get on to our last segment of the show, I wanted to do a promotion, a shameless plug of my own YouTube channel. For those of you who do not know, I also have my own YouTube channel. I do a lot of videos themed around bullying, survival, LGBTQ activism, and reactions to current events, and sometimes very geeky things. In fact, I recently completed my video series titled Bullying, My Story of Survival. It's about 70 minutes of me going through and talking intricately about the different bullying experiences that I went through and how I've healed from those experiences, and I hope to help people realize that by telling their own stories, they can find a means to also heal, again, through that connection that they make with other people. So if you're interested, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, if you go to youtube.com and type in Donny Winter, D-O-N-N-Y, and winter is in the season, you should be able to find my YouTube channel. Okay, then. So,
I should subscribe. It's awesome.
Oh, you're sweet, honey. So let's get on to the last segment of our show. And this, like, the final question that I have for everyone tonight is, will discourage talent, especially musical talent? And I know, Tiffany, you have had a lot of experience with people discouraging you from making various choices when it comes to your musical career. Would you like to tell us some stories or some experiences about this?
Yes. Well, when I first realized my passion for singing and music, I had some people in high school, some teachers in high school tell me that, you know, I need to think of choosing a more practical career because music wasn't practical. And because of that, I went to college, and I was originally pursuing teaching. And I knew that was something I did not want to do because I knew I would be no good at it, and it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But I did it because I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to be practical, and I wish I knew that, it's my life. You know, I don't need to do what everyone else wants me to do. And I have also experienced some discouragement on YouTube as well. Every now and then you get those hateful comments, or you get those discouraging comments that nitpick, and they criticize every little thing about your voice. And even though they're trying to help, which I do appreciate, it's still discouraging because those opinions get in my head. And I try really hard not to let them get in my head. I really do. I try to tell myself, these opinions don't matter. These opinions don't matter. But it still hurts, and it still discourages me. And then the most discouraging thing that I have gone through was last year. There were these two guys that they were two agent guys. I don't know. Like, I think one of them was a radio DJ, and the other one had a recording studio. And they wanted to cut me a record and help me pursue my musical career, but on their terms. And not only did they, want to tell me what songs that I should and shouldn't sing, but one thing that really stuck out for me is they knew that I wanted to share my story through my music. And part of my story, is very dark. It was when I was talking about how I have self-harmed in the past. And they told me that I shouldn't talk about that. In fact, I remember what one of the guys said. He said, "You can't tell people that you've self-harmed." And I asked why. And he said, "Well, because it scares other people." And that made me feel so guilty. I felt so bad. I felt, not only did I feel ashamed of self-harming, when I was finally able to come out and say, I did this, and, I'm not ashamed of myself for doing that. I just know that I did it, and I know I shouldn't have done it, but I did it, and I came out on top. And then he made me feel ashamed of myself for that. And not only that, but he made me feel ashamed of myself for telling my story. He wanted me to be vague about telling my story. He wanted me to tell my story, but on his terms. And that followed me around for the next few months and had me questioning everything and questioning, do I really want to work with these guys? Because I know that they can make my dreams come true, but at the same time, it's on their terms, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that I don't have to do what they tell me to do because I'm a grown-up. I'm a grown woman. I'm not hurting anybody. And I feel like telling my story is not harmful to other people. It's helpful because other people who have gone through similar things,
mm-hmm.
it can help them because I came out on top. I'm still alive. I still struggle with insecurities, and I still have tough times that I deal with, but I'm alive and I'm working through them. And maybe some people will feel uncomfortable with me sharing my story, but that's their problem. And I shouldn't let their insecurities dictate my life. And I feel like maybe those two guys had their own insecurities. Maybe that's why they were projecting them onto me.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, it almost makes me angry that they did that to me, that they discouraged me. It makes me angry, and it hurts because this is why I do my music, not just because I love it, but because I want to share my story. And they wanted to stop me from doing that. They wanted me to do it on their terms, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part that makes me angry is that I felt like I was back in high school doing what all the grown-ups wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm just tired of doing what everyone else wants me to do. And I want to just pursue my career my way and be true to myself, because maybe that won't get me to celebrity status. And you know what? I don't care. I don't want to be a celebrity. I just want to be someone who shares her story and helps other people and makes other people happy and brings joy to their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point. I don't want to be another Taylor Swift. Don't get me wrong. I love her, but I don't want to be another Taylor Swift or another Katy Perry. I want to be me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's like that story is. I can understand where you're coming from, because it seems like a lot of people, when they encounter talent, they want to bend and mold you to the ideal image of what they would want. And I think, as difficult as that was to go through, Tiffany, the amazing thing is you came out of that situation knowing 100% why you do what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that's extremely powerful. And that's very empowering, too, because, I've been going through a similar experience recently with my own YouTube, because, YouTube is very, set on, numbers and popularity, and it's very difficult to reach an audience when, YouTube doesn't assist you at all like it does with those individuals. And I learned that, it's not about the numbers. It's about, those few people who may stumble across my video during a very bleak, dark night where they feel as though they aren't going to survive to the next day. It's those moments that really define what I do, and I think that's the exact same for you. It's those moments where people who want to sing or who want to be creative encounter your music and realize that they can be, that they have the capability and the drive and the passion to do it. It's all about just taking that action and doing it. And I'm sure Brenda has felt this at some point in her life, too.
I have. And my sister has as well. When she was younger, she was at school and she was singing along with some songs and stuff like that with her friends. And there was a girl that told her that she couldn't sing. Okay? She took that to heart, because you never hear her sing. And as much as I've tried to get her to sing, she will not sing because of one person telling her that she couldn't sing.
That's hard.
And I've had people tell me that I couldn't sing either. And my ex-husband, I know he was joking around, but he said, "You can't sing." But I know I can because I've had enough people out there tell me that I can. Yes, there are certain notes that I cannot reach. But, that doesn't discourage me. I don't really give a hoot to boot what they say.
I've actually heard you sing before, Brenda. You have a really good voice.
Yeah, I hope I get through this cold to get it back because I like singing. But it's just, we can't let people discourage us in one word or several little words, and they don't really mean it to a degree, can hurt you, can make you, can break you, unless you're a strong person. And Tiffany, you're a strong person. So don't pay attention to what those goofballs say. Go do what you're going to do. My motto is follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you, and that's what you should be doing.
Thank you. And what makes it, what is really discouraging, though, is when people who you care about and people who care about you give you opinions that you don't want to hear or tell, or, give you, discouraging opinions. And I've had that happen, too, people that I really care about. And I definitely recognize that they're just trying to help, and I absolutely appreciate it. But like I said, those opinions get in my head, and I can't really control that because of Asperger's. But those opinions get in my head, and I have to process them, and I have to take my time and get over them, but they can really hurt.
Right. Well, and then we have people who discourage us because they feel that we're going to get, and it's kind of crazy, but that we may fail, and it was best for them to discourage us before we actually get hurt in the process. What they fail to realize is by discouraging people to do something, maybe they're discouraging them to do that they're going to do something well. And also, that's another form of discouragement. People don't want other people to succeed. They want them to stay right where they're at. And it's like, really? No. And Tiffany, for you, I say go for it. Don't let those guys tell you that. Go for it because you got a beautiful voice. Get it out there. Tell your story, just like I told Donny with the YouTube. Get that story out there. You would not believe how much healing that you're going to receive through that. And I say that to you, Tiffany. Get your story out there. If you have to do it through song, you're going to touch people. I'm telling you. If you could see my hands going right now, I mean, I'm like, you have to do this. More people have to hear your stories. More people have to hear my story and other people's stories, because that's the only way that we know that we are not alone.
Yeah. And I can tell you a story I was told. I can tell you a story I was told about, one guy who is autistic. A friend of mine told me about this guy who was also autistic, and he loved to paint. But he quit painting because his mother, who was an art teacher, was very critical, and her words got into his head, and he quit. He quit painting, and that broke my heart so much because someone he loved very much discouraged him.
Yeah, that's not good. With stuff like this, we should not be critics. We should be saying, okay, they are trying their best. They're doing what they love. Let them continue to do that. That's what we should be saying instead of discouraging.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think that people discourage because some people are envious of other people's gifts.
That's true.
And people discourage because they don't want that person being recognized for their abilities. And, I can honestly tell you this, Tiffany, you have touched people already with your music. Even that last show that you were on, the one where you, Cindy, Brenda, and I were talking about autism, people were drawn to both of you because they saw your talent, they saw your ability. And, I mean, Brenda and I doing this show, for example, is another reflection of that. Like we have the ability to use our words to, create awareness and to, bring people to see the things within themselves that they don't see. And I think, Tiffany, what you're doing is wonderful. And
thank you.
Unfortunately, I know that we're always going to somehow encounter those people who would wish to discourage us. And sometimes if we get hurt by them, the only thing we can do is, get through that hurt and, find our own means of healing. But at the end of the day, it's important for us to remember that we are also surrounded by people who encourage us. And I can tell you what, my dear, no matter who is out there who may discourage you, you have an army behind you supporting you in everything that you do.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I keep doing that.
No.
Well, what you were saying, Brenda, about, we shouldn't be critics. I absolutely agree. I think we should be more encouraging towards each other. And I'm taking voice lessons right now, and my voice teacher, he's not a critic. He's not critical of me. He doesn't tell me what I'm doing wrong. He gives me ideas of, more things that I can do right and how I can improve. And because of him, I am finding my true voice because he's not criticizing me and telling me everything that I'm doing wrong. He's telling me what I can do right, things that I can do better, and making it fun. And positivity is what works with me. If someone wants me to improve, positivity is what's going to get me to improve. And I think that works with a lot of people, is positivity rather than criticism. And I do understand that people have their opinions, but I just feel like, why do we need to be so negative towards each other? And if we don't like something, we don't have to listen to it.
Exactly.
Because we have so many choices.
Yes, we do. I experienced a little bit of criticism from Patrick, actually. And when we were, because he was a priest, and he was a priest over at the parish that I was at, and I was youth minister, and I had one young lady come up to me and talk to me about a certain situation in her life. And, of course, I was doing some counseling. And Patrick told me that I was unauthorized to do any type of counseling because I did not have the credentials to do so. And I took that to heart, and it's like, what, really? Any person who has an ability, which I didn't realize I did at that particular time, an ability to tune in, or even a parent, a parental person who has a well-meaning, and I do say well-meaning, to be able to help someone is a counselor. Now, that's the critical thing, is like, you don't have to have credentials to do what you do. If people come to you to talk to you for any particular reason, they come to you because God sent them to you. Okay? Especially if you're not going to criticize, and if you see things differently than they might see them, so they can be helped. Or they can be, calmed, or, sound advice and stuff like that. You don't need that credential on the wall. Sorry.
No.
Excuse me.
And people come to you because they trust you and they really like you.
So that really did hurt me. And it took me a long time to get over that one. But it's like, I'm sorry. God did this. God gave me this ability. I don't care if I don't have the written paperwork or the degree to be able to do a proper counseling, which 9 times out of 10 doesn't really help you. It keeps you coming back. But that's my opinion only. But if God gave me the ability to help someone, and if it's through counseling, by God, I'm going to do it.
Yes, definitely. Brenda, I don't think you fully realize yet how much of an impact you have on people, too, because honestly, without you, I would not be where I am right now. And I know you say otherwise because it's always in me, but it takes someone else being able to recognize that, to help another person recognize that within themselves.
Yes. And that's true.
And I can honestly say that you really leave an imprint on more people than you realize. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think I am humble because I know that if you wouldn't have received it one way through me, you would have received it through someone else. You know, it might not be the same way, but you still would have received it because you were on that path already before I even came into the picture. I just helped a little bit of nudging and a little bit of getting you confidence or stuff like that.
Well, and this is true.
You know, and Deb in the chat room said, not that you wouldn't be here, you are, okay? And you definitely, and Tiffany, because you have that strong will inside you to get out there, get your stuff out there, and it's just us helping to push and to guide, then that's all that's needed. And I thank you for the compliment, but you would have done it. You both would have done it if I wasn't there or not, but you would have done it. But I'm glad I was the tool to help.
Okay, Brenda, well, it looks like we are coming up on the end of the show here. Did you want to close us out then?
Yes, I do, actually. I want to put a plug into all of the rest of our shows that we have on Mystical Awakenings Radio. And on Tuesday nights, we have Sacred Journeys from 7 to 9. Mystical Awakenings is on Wednesdays, 7 to 9. True Paranormal is Fridays, 7 to 9. And this is the one I like. I haven't listened to it yet, but this one I like is What the Hell Was That? Saturday nights from 9 to 11, right here on Mystical Awakenings Radio. The other thing is follow your heart, for only you know which path is right for you. Love you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, and I will be in Florida. So, yes, here we go.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.